However, I would like to lay out a couple of principles that I'd like to use. First of all control must be local, as local as possible. So what that means is that the classroom must be controlled by the teacher, not by the administration, um, you know, not by some people sitting in Charleston, 5 hours away, but by the teacher who is in that classroom. That teacher is an educated, mature professional who knows how to manage a classroom and needs to be allowed to manage their classroom. The other thing that goes along with that is that the teachers need to be able to manage the students and their work. So what I'm getting at is, and I know, David, you might find this kind of surprising, but I was actually a troublemaker in school. I couldn't shut up in class. I annoyed people. I told stupid jokes and tended to cause problems. So my teachers had the authority to remove me from the classroom, to say, you're distracting these other kids who are trying to learn. Go sit in the hallway or go sit in the library, and here's some work you can do while you're sitting in the library. Not only that, but my teachers had the authority to send me home or tell me that I couldn't come back to school the next day. Now, that was the administration, I believe. But anyway, the point is that my teachers controlled the classroom, and I am better for it, and I can guarantee that the other students in the class with me are better for it because I was causing problems. So, teacher has to control the classroom. The local administration needs to control the local school, and they need to do it in conjunction with the County Board of Education, which is an elected body that works for the people of that county. And so the authority for running that school system needs to reside in that county and needs to function in conjunction with the people who elected the Board of Education, the local parents and the local taxpayers and the local teachers who are both parents and taxpayers. The next thing is that we need to make the State Board of Education a consultancy rather than a directorate. And what I mean by that is, instead of a bunch of people sitting in Charleston making decisions for how David needs to run his classroom, what needs to happen is they need to provide resources and opportunities and recommendations on how you can meet the standard. So basically, if you're teaching world history and your students just aren't getting it, and you're using every resource you have available, we need to have this compendium of resources and experts who can provide that information. Now, as far as how that is provided, of course, we live in the 21st century. The state constitution says that we have to provide the opportunity for a free and efficient education to each school, to each student. So the opportunity. Well, back in the day when this was written, the opportunity meant that there was a schoolhouse with a teacher in it. Well, nowadays, that's not necessarily the best option. There are a lot of different options, and I think that all of them need to be on the table. Now, I've been accused of trying to destroy the local public school. That's asinine. I have been accused of hating teachers. That's asinine. None of that is true. What I do believe is that we need to have excellent teachers who know their subjects well, know how to manage their classrooms, and we need to let them do it. We also need to pay them because they're professionals. So where would the money come from to pay them? Well, we are currently, I think, 13th or 14th in the entire nation for actual per student investment in our public education system. Obviously, we're not seeing that return on the investment, so where's all the money going? I have two things to say about that. The first is that because of a court decision a few years back, the legislature no longer has the opportunity to look into the school system's budget and determine where their money's going. So you, the people, through your elected representatives in the House of Delegates who hold the power of the purse string, no longer have any way of knowing where the money is actually going in the school system. But based on my research, and this is the second point I'd like to make, so that has to change. That has to change. The government works for the people. The school system is part of the government, and it needs to work for the people, which means the people need to have oversight over it through their elected representatives. And one of the primary resources that we provide to any government agency is finances. So the people have a right to know where their tax money is going. Based on my research, however, a vast amount of that money is going to an inflated bureaucracy. And I can't remember the exact relationship, but we have far more education bureaucrats and administrators per student than other states. Now, in certain situations, that actually makes a little bit of sense, because if you go to one of these schools that's, you know, in a low density population area, you're not going to have that many students, but you still need a principal, right? You still need a librarian, that sort of thing. But at a certain point, the administrators need to be scaled back, and that would provide for a massive savings, which could then be applied directly to the classroom. And I am convinced that's what needs to happen. Another thing is that we have other resources for providing instruction online. I'm not saying it's the panacea. It's not the be all to end all to be all. It's not, but it is an option, and it needs to be used. Other options are, you know, that you could have tutors, and I understand that sounds like I'm talking about something that you know, I'm talking about something rich people do, but my younger sister was a school teacher for years. She was very good. She actually wrote an entire curriculum that was used statewide in another state, and it was for fourth grade. And anyway, she retired, and after she retired, she started tutoring. She chooses only students who are having severe problems in school. She has had an amazing impact on them, and she doesn't charge much. Their families are not well off, but she can make her own schedule. She can work around that, and she actually helps these kids out a lot. I think that we could include something along those lines in our options that we offer. Anyway, there are a lot of different options, and I am missing comments here. But David, those are some of the principles. First of all, we've got to streamline the administration, the bureaucracy, use that money in the classrooms, give local people control, give the teachers control over the classrooms, the principals control over their schools, the local county board of education control over their county school system. And I'm talking about funding. You know, the state gives them the funding and they use it however they want, and then they're held accountable for the results. And, you know, parents need to be directly involved, need to have the opportunity to be directly involved in their kids' education. And I've heard from teachers all over the state that, you know, a lot of parents aren't interested. That saddens me terribly. I'm very profoundly involved in my kids' education, and they do a great job. And I understand that's unfair, that some parents won't do their job. I know teachers are trying really hard to do some of the parents' jobs. They need to be relieved of that responsibility. It's not their responsibility. In addition to that, it is not teachers' jobs to teach kids how to behave. It's teachers' jobs to teach their subject. You know, maintain control of the classroom, yes, but actually train a student how to behave as a human being is not the teacher's job. So we need to have the option for another way to provide that so the teacher can go on teaching their subject. Yeah, very true about teachers. They have become the parents of many school children whose parents... That's another issue, and I think we can all probably agree that has a lot to do with poverty, has a lot to do with education, and also probably has a lot to do with drug use in the family or something along those lines. But there was a time when I was a single father of 9 kids. Okay? I did my best. I really did. I worked 10-hour days for the Army and tried to take care of my kids best I could. And I probably didn't do as well as I should have. Each of my kids deserved far better than I gave them. And I am grateful for the teachers who kind of picked up some of the slack for me, but that wasn't their job. It wasn't their job. My kids had great teachers during that time. They have great teachers now, but during this critical time for my family, when I was trying to raise them all by myself, it was really hard. And it was really hard on the kids. And we had great teachers who loved them. And we lived in a small community, and we all knew each other. I went to church with half their teachers. We all knew each other. And we all looked out for each other. And I'm grateful for that. But But I want you to know that my kids knew what was right. They knew what was wrong. They knew they weren't allowed to go to school and stir up trouble like I had when I was a kid. They knew what was expected of them. They did. And I think it's inexcusable that even a parent who is trying to raise a lot of kids by himself and working long hours does not make it clear to his kids that you behave like a civilized human being. You don't deprive other people of their rights. You don't hit people. You don't start fights. You don't go to class and disturb other people while they're trying to learn. So it is absolutely critical that the parents do their part. And I think that in dealing with the issues with poverty, by bringing in and building our economy, and then also dealing with a lot of the drug issues, and a big part of that also is providing opportunity by building the economy, that we can strike at the root of a lot of these issues.